Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Neighborhood Services District 5 and 6 Community Virtual Meeting. I'm Jason Perez, your Neighborhood Services Coordinator for Districts 5 and 6. If you have any questions about anything neighborhood related, please feel free to contact me at any time at 714-765-4398 or by email at jperez3@anaheim.net. Before we get started, if anyone needs Spanish interpretation, please click on the globe icon located on the bottom right of your Zoom screen and choose Spanish. If you're using your smartphone, simply click on the three dots on the bottom right side and choose Interpretation. Si necesita servicios de interpretación al español, favor de oprimir el botón con la imagen del mundo localizado en el lado inferior derecho de su pantalla y elija Español. Si está usando su teléfono inteligente, favor de hacer clic en los tres puntos en el lado inferior derecho de su pantalla. Neighborhood Services District Community Meetings are a part of the Anaheim Neighborhood Improvement Program that assists residents to improve the livability of their neighborhood. They enable residents to help themselves through the creation of partnerships with their city and other stakeholders. When the COVID-19 pandemic started last year, we produced pre-recorded videos with important updates. Now, we are bringing you these Zoom webinars. We hope you find them useful and informative. If you have any questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen, and we will do our best to answer your question at the end of the presentations. Before we get started, I would like to inform you that Council Member for District 5 and Mayor Pro Tem Stephen Fessel and Council Member for District 6 Trevor O'Neill are present. Councilmember O'Neill will be providing us with some brief remarks, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jason. Well, boy, what a pleasure it is to be with all the residents, especially those coming from District 6. I'm so excited to have these meetings and cannot wait until the time that we're able to have them in person again. It's just around the corner. We're also excited to get back to all of our great summer activities that our city does. Including our 4th of July program that's coming up that you're going to hear more about, all of our other community services programs that we do for kids during the summer. So we are back on track to have a wonderful summer, and I'm so happy to be able to welcome that. In the resort area, we are moving into a full reopening now after the governor has finally lifted the economic restrictions, and boy, Disneyland is packed. And that means good news for our budget. We sustained a challenging financial time during the economic shutdown with the closure of the resort, but things are on track now for a quick recovery. We did receive some federal stimulus as a result, but it wasn't enough to cover our budget deficit that we had, so we did have to do some short-term borrowing in order to make sure that our streets remained safe and the lights remained on, and that everybody in our city received the level of benefits that they're used to as Anaheim residents. And as a fiscal conservative, I am committed to making sure that we pay off that debt as quickly and as responsibly as possible. Finally, I want to make sure that everybody stays in touch with my office, and if you don't already follow me, you can go to anaheim.net/D6, and I've got links for everything there. Sign up for my newsletter, follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and some videos on my YouTube channel as well. So welcome, everyone, and I'll hand it back to you, Jason.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Neill, for your remarks. We appreciate you both joining us tonight. Let us dive into our agenda. First up, we have Sergeant Brian Janoka with the East Community Policing Team, who will provide us with an update on current crime trends in East Anaheim and crime prevention tips. Sergeant Janoka, the floor is yours.
Thanks. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so the two main things I'm going to cover tonight are, as far as crime trends, catalytic converter thefts are still, unfortunately, very common. A couple of the ways that you can prevent that is either parking in a garage. If you're unable to, or you don't have room in your garage and you do have to park on the street, park under a street light, park in well-lit areas if you can. You can also either yourself or have someone do it, but you can etch your VIN number or license plate number actually into your catalytic converter, just in case it gets stolen. There are aftermarket things, skid plates, and other products that they sell that you can also have a mechanic, or if you're comfortable doing it, put on a catalytic converter to prevent it from being stolen. And last, if for some reason your catalytic converter does get stolen, please report it. You can report it online, and it helps us to track, and it helps us identify if there's any trends and where they're happening, when they're happening, that type of thing, so we can better direct enforcement and investigative efforts to that area. So if we don't know about it, it's difficult for us to try to figure out when these things are happening. So if it does happen to you, please go online and report it. The other big thing that we get questions on this time of year is, and really probably going to be our biggest complaint for the next 30 days, are fireworks. So a couple things on fireworks. We have, in the week to 10 days, about the week leading up to the 4th of July, we have a lot of extra cars working. I think we have 8 officers and a sergeant working strictly fireworks enforcement. So they'll be responding to calls and trying to find people who are using illegal fireworks in the days leading up to the 4th of July, because obviously, as we all know, people start using them weeks prior to the 4th. If you see somebody setting off fireworks, or you find out that somebody is selling them illegally, you can email me or call me. I think someone's going to put all of our contact information up on the screen at some point. You can always email me. It will be confidential. You can call my phone, leave a message if I don't answer. We're beyond just doing uniformed fireworks enforcement. We're also going to be doing some undercover operations where we attempt to buy illegally sold fireworks and make arrests of people selling them, as well as not just using them, but people selling them. We did it the last couple of years. I was part of it last year. We made several arrests of people who were selling illegal fireworks. So we'll be doing that. It's not an exact science. There will still be fireworks, especially on the 4th of July, unfortunately. The only legal fireworks allowed in the city are Safe and Sane fireworks. They're only legal on the 4th of July from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And they are not legal and not allowed in East Anaheim, east of the 55 freeway, south of the 91 freeway, in the Anaheim Hills area, due to the obvious fire hazards that it creates. So if you see somebody setting off fireworks, you can call our non-emergency dispatch line that's at the top of the screen there, 765-1900. But like I said, if you have information on people selling them or whatnot, you can always email me or call me directly. And then I'll be around after the meeting to field any questions that anybody has about any of that. And then last 2 things real quick. National Night Out is back. We did not have it last year because of COVID. It's going to be Tuesday, August 3rd at La Palma Park. It'll be on our social media, and there'll be representatives from every bureau and detail in our department present to answer questions or just to meet people and discuss anything. The police helicopter will probably land at the park. So people will get to see the helicopter, they'll get to talk to detectives, they'll see a canine demonstration, there's all kinds of fun stuff. So that's Tuesday, August 3rd at La Palma Park. And then last, we are currently hiring both new officers and what we call lateral officers, which are police officers from other agencies that want to transfer to Anaheim. So you can go to joinanaheimpd.com for that. That's all I have, unless there's any questions in the chat room, or if anybody has anything, I'm happy to discuss now if I have time left.
What we'll do is we'll arrive to the question and answer portion of the agenda, and that's when we'll go ahead and field some questions. In the meantime, just a reminder to our panelists, if you're able to answer a question in between presentations, please do so. And then upon the Q&A portion of our agenda, I will go ahead and review any questions that remain open at that time. Thank you, Sergeant Janoka, for that useful information. If you just joined us, please remember that you can ask a question during the meeting by pressing the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. If you need Spanish interpretation, please click on the globe icon located on the bottom right side of your screen. Si necesita servicios de interpretación al español, favor de oprimir el botón con la imagen del mundo localizado en el lado derecho de su pantalla. Si está usando su teléfono inteligente, favor de hacer clic en los 3 puntos en el lado inferior derecho de su pantalla. Next, Community Preservation Manager Sandra Lozo will provide us with information on the newly formed Community Care Response Team and other important code enforcement updates. Sandra, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sandra Lozo. I'm the Community Preservation and Licensing Manager / Homeless Liaison, and here to provide you an update on our Community Care Response Team. As you can see on our screen, this is our homeless webpage, and our pilot program, the Community Care Response Team, or CCRT, is on the far right. And if you click on that, you can get the latest update on our program, and I'll go over some of those highlights for you tonight. One of the biggest things to understand with our Community Care Response Team is you can call this team. You see the phone number there, 714-820-9090. And this is a team of skilled professionals that are out in our streets 7 days a week for 14-hour shifts from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. every evening. And this is helping us divert calls that are non-emergency, non-criminal related, related to homeless activity away from our police department as being first responders and having our skilled professionals out there. This team is made up of outreach workers, nurse practitioners, mental health clinicians, and we have a plainclothes safety officer out there, not only for the safety of the team, because they do work into the evenings, but also for our homeless neighbors that are still on the street that need assistance. So this program was approved by our city council, thank you very much, on December 15th of 2020, and was implemented within a matter of weeks and kicked off January 1. And so there was 4 goals with this program. One was to divert calls away from our police dispatch that were non-emergency, non-criminal. And to date, after being about 160 so days in, almost 6 months, we've diverted on average almost up to 30% of all the homeless calls each month coming into the police department over to our CCRT team. So that has alleviated our dispatchers having to send out patrol or other officers to these calls. We are also looking at other calls that we have not been able to divert, such as low-level trespassing, to see if we can continue to improve on this pilot program and get more calls diverted away from our police department and have our skilled professional teams out there. Another one of our goals, because this program is fully funded from the federal government through ESG money, which is Emergency Solutions Grant Funding. It is restricted monies for homeless as well as COVID related. So while our CCRT team is out there providing outreach and other services, they're also providing personal protection equipment, information on where to be tested, as well as where to be vaccinated. I can also tell you that our shelters have been 100% vaccinated with all our staff there, as well as the individuals and neighbors coming into the shelter. And we are now working on vaccinations in the streets with our county and other nonprofit organizations. A third goal was to get more people off the streets and sheltered. And so we, because they're working 7 days a week, 14-hour shifts, we are able to be out there more often and handle more calls and touch more people. And we are now 6 months in, on average, 3.4 people a day off the street. And then we're hitting, I think, about 580 at this point. This is our stat sheet from May 30th, but as of yesterday, we're up to 580 people off of our streets. You'll see on this map, there are some dots. Those red dots are all the calls for service and individuals that we've touched. You'll see that there's some red dots outside of our city limits, and that's because they're at special facilities or other sheltered environments, but we still touch them and stay in contact and work case management to make sure they stay sheltered or at the facility for the services they need. The fourth goal was to regionalize this approach, to have this type of community care response team countywide. And so we're in talks with a lot of county agencies. We've done a lot of presentations at the Continuum of Care Board, Orange County Human Relations, and most recently, we're going to be presenting at the United to End Homelessness Board. So we are working this program. It is a pilot, so we are learning as we go. We will be presenting a 6-month review next month with the City Council, and happy to share that once we get that ready to go. We currently, in the city of Anaheim, have 426 shelter beds that Anaheim controls and runs to provide to those on the streets. I'm happy to report we now have over 300 in our shelters currently that otherwise would be on our streets, and still have an additional 120 beds, thanks to council adding 100 beds during COVID. We also continue to have medical calls and mental health assessments out there. And you have a direct line to our CCRT line, and we're changing and reimagining how we interact and address our homeless neighbors on the street. And so you see now our direct community calls are growing, and a lot of the Anaheim Police Department dispatch calls are actually going down for those people that recognize if it's just somebody maybe sleeping on a bench, or someone maybe talking to themselves on the street, or someone in our parks, that we're able to get to them directly and have those calls diverted. It should also be noted we continue to add housing. Shelter is just temporary, and so we have now also started taking individuals and neighbors out of our shelters and into permanent supportive housing. Last December, we opened the El Verano housing project for homeless seniors as we saw an aging homeless neighbor group. And we were able to fill that with individuals from our shelters that were homeless seniors into that housing project in December. And a lot of people were permanently housed that were senior aged right before Christmas, which was great. We also have a motel conversion project, Buena Esperanza, that's going to be opening up over on the west side of town that has individual units up to 69. And we're already processing more people out of our shelter into those housing. So kind of opening up that back door of the shelter and getting people through there quicker into permanent housing. We continue to balance outreach with enforcement. So we do have teams and security in our parks at night right now. Lion Security is back in our parks, specifically in a lot of our top most utilized parks. So on this side of town, they're in Boyden, they're in Juarez, a lot of different park areas around there, as well as we have park rangers, park maintenance staff, and code enforcement officers that are making sure all the blight is picked up after the parks are closed and into the evening and early morning hours, which has been very, very helpful. We also continue to partner with Caltrans and also Union Pacific Railroad. And so we did a lot of work last week along the 5 and Ball Road, 57 and Lincoln, and a little section under the Big A over by the stadium. We also worked a bunch of spots along Union Pacific Railroad. And for this area, we were over in the Cerritos Catella area and continue to hit these areas often. That's the latest on our community care response team. Regarding code enforcement updates, the only update I have this evening is with the resort and the city reopening. We are starting more up our parking enforcement more. So we originally were just focusing on red curb, blocking alleys, those things that needed emergency vehicles, fire hydrants. And so June 1st, we started up our timed parking, oversized vehicle enforcement, and others. The permit parking, we're still issuing some warnings right now as more people need to come in and get their permits now that City Hall is fully open. So we're going to be starting up that enforcement in the near future. But other than that, thank you very much, Jason, and I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Sandra, for that wonderful information. Next, Public Works staff will provide us with information on the organic waste reduction legislation in California. Solid Waste Administrator Dora Delgadillo will kick off the presentation.
Hi, thank you so much, Jason. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for taking time from your business schedule to be here in this very special meeting. The City of Anaheim has an extended team of professional solid waste consultants to help the city meet state legislation. And today we invited Lisa Robles with Economics, one of the city's solid waste consultants, and she's going to be sharing with all of us information about a new recycling law. We also have Sandra and Mark with the City of Anaheim Planning Department and Michael Johnson with Republic Services, the city's trash hauler. They will be assisting us with any questions that you might have regarding this presentation. And thank you again. And Lisa, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Dora. My name is Lisa Robles and I work for Economics, Inc. We are a solid waste consulting company, and so we help the city's Public Works Department stay in compliance with state regulations regarding solid waste, which is your trash, and recycling. So today we're actually going to go into a recycling update because there's a lot of new stuff coming out from the state of California. All right, let's see. I'm going to share my screen one more time here. Can everyone see this?
We can see it.
All right, let's try this again. Here we go. Okay, so California has set some really strict recycling goals, and there's two main ones we're going to talk about. And the first one really is the main one, and that is that the state of California wants to recycle and compost 75% of organic waste that goes to the landfills by 2025. So we want to try to take out all of the organic waste out of the landfills by 2025. And then another one of their goals is they want to rescue leftover edible food waste by 20% for people to eat. So they want businesses to donate kind of any leftover food that they might have at the end of a business day instead of throwing it in the trash. And so you might be asking yourself, well, what is organics? So organics is made up of three things. When you think about organics, it's really anything that decomposes in this particular word. So we're talking about your food waste, we're talking about paper and cardboard materials, which is also known as fiber materials, and then we're also talking about your yard waste. And the state of California is really targeting organic waste because when we look at just food waste on its own, California throws away 5.6 million tons of food waste every day, which is crazy. It's just a lot of food waste that we're throwing away. And so the state really wants to try to divert that by recycling it or composting it. And 5.6 million is really hard to kind of visualize. So when we quantify it in terms of planes, that's equivalent to 72,000 Boeing airplanes worth of organics going to the landfill per day, which is a lot of organic material. Again, that includes your food waste, your fibers, your paper and cardboard, and your yard waste. And so what happens is when you throw all of these materials at your home, the trash company or Public Services picks it up and then they transport it down to your local landfill. And what happens with all of that organic material in the landfill is as it starts to decompose, it creates these landfill gases, such as methane and carbon dioxide, which then contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. And so this is, these are the reasons that the state is really targeting organic material. And what they're doing exactly is they're passing new recycling laws. And so there's a new recycling law called SB 1383, and that's known as the Organic Waste Methane Law. And this law will be triggered in 2022. And what it does is it has a lot of components to it, and it enforces the city to provide yard waste and food waste services to all residents and then all businesses as well. It enforces them to adopt a local ordinance, which is like a local law that enforces the state law. It also requires the city to implement inspection and compliance programs. It requires the city to establish an edible food recovery program for certain types of businesses. It requires the city to conduct public education, making sure that the community understands, what organics is, why we're trying to divert it, and why it's important to recycle it. And then it also, what it does is it enforces the city to put inside of their local ordinance a penalty or fine structure program. Again, what I want to say here is the regulation, it's triggered 2022, but these penalties don't begin until 2024. So changes for the community, how is this going to affect you at your house? Well, what's going to happen is we're going to start recycling our food waste at home. And we anticipate beginning this program sometime in 2022. We are in the initial stages of planning the program. And so this is why we anticipate the program starting sometime in 2022. What that means is all of your food scraps, all of your old vegetables in your fridge, your moldy food, all will get collected and recycled. And so this is kind of an idea here of where all of the organic material will go in which container, right? Because now we have to start collecting it, but which cart are we going to put it in? And so if you live in a single residential home, your yard waste, we anticipate, will become your organics container, where you're kind of mixing in your food waste with your grass clippings, your leaves. Your recycling cart will stay the same. And this is where you should already be capturing your fibers, your paper and your cardboard, your junk mail, your plastic bottles, aluminum cans, and so forth. And then your trash will also stay the same. You want to be bagging all of your trash. And that's usually waste coming from your bathroom, styrofoam, greasy pizza boxes, chip bags, sandwich bags, those types of items. Now, again, I do want to make sure this program, the way we're presenting it here, is subject to change because we still are in the initial beginning phase of developing the program and creating it so that we are in compliance with it. SB 1383 will also affect businesses. It will enforce actually businesses to recycle their food waste. So some businesses are already recycling their food waste actually through another regulation called AB 1826. SB 1383 just adds on to 1826 by enforcing it through the local ordinance. And then again, some businesses will be required to donate any leftover edible food waste. And so these businesses are going to be your large generators. So what are we doing right now? So like I said, we're in the first initial phases of developing the program. We're in the process of writing a local recycling ordinance. We are collaborating with the city's hauler, Republic Services, on developing the program, deciding how the program will work and how it will affect rates. And then we're going to continue our education and outreach. We'll continue doing presentations. We'll continue doing articles, in your Recycle Anaheim newsletters. And so we'll continue to do that within the next few years, because this is a new law that will be affecting you. So I will be here at the end of the meeting today to answer any questions. Again, my name is Lisa Robles, and I work for Economics Inc., and I assist the city's Public Works Department in implementing waste and recycling programs and making sure that they stay in compliance. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dora and Lisa, for that information. Next, Fire Inspector Adrian Abel is here to provide us with information on wildland risk assessment and fire prevention as we enter the summer season. Adrian, the floor is yours. Adrian, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Jason, for the introduction. And my name again is Adrian Abel with the Anaheim Fire and Rescue. And I'm here to talk about, for both districts here, fire prevention and then wildfire risk assessment up in our, predominantly in our District 6 area. But we'll start off with our fire prevention segment in here. And I want to talk briefly, if we go ahead, change the slide here. Here we go. So I want to talk first, most importantly, because of the amount of fire prevention is kind of an overall subject, and we can talk about a lot of things. But what we want to talk about, especially in homes, briefly here, is smoke alarms. So we did recently have a fire death in April, which resulted in the death of a young lady here in Anaheim. And come to find out that it looks like that they did not have working smoke alarms in the house. And so we want to re-emphasize that 3 out of 5 home fires result from the fires in properties without working smoke alarms. And so it's important that we want to emphasize that. So in the next slide, obviously we want to make sure that your smoke alarms are working properly. So what you can do especially is making sure that you test and replace them. So testing them once a month by pushing the little button that's there will result in hearing a little beep. And if you don't hear that, then it's not working properly. You know what, excuse me 1 second. I have the cleaning person here, and I know they're using the vacuum. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Hold on a second. Señora. I apologize about that. And then the testing them once a month by pushing the button and then replacing them. Replacing them, we used to often, when you test them, whenever you had to change your clocks or your, we would ask you to kind of replace your batteries. But now the smoke alarms have embedded 10-year batteries in them. So they no longer make smoke alarms that will have the batteries in there well you have to replace. So now after 10 years, you'll just replace the entire smoke alarm and get a new one. So that's actually a good feature in there. So you don't have to keep having to test those or not say test them, but change out those batteries periodically. The next segment here obviously is having a smoke alarm in the appropriate places. So they're required in every bedroom. They need a working smoke alarm, and in the common hallways especially as well. Those common hallways where they're not required, where most people think they are, it would be actually in the kitchen. And some people like to put them in the garage. They're not required in those areas. And the reason being, especially in the kitchen, is as obviously as you're cooking, you're obviously going to set that off more often than not. So that's where it's not required. Especially you should be attending your cooking as you're there anyways, and we do emphasize that. But really they're there for when you're sleeping. And so half of the home fire deaths happen between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. when most people are asleep. And so that's why it's important that those working smoke alarms are in those appropriate places. And then in the next slide, I want to emphasize as well, as you go to sleep, whether you have a smoke alarm or not, I want to emphasize closing the door at night. I know a lot of us sleep with our doors open, and I know it's hot out here these next couple of weeks, but it's important to close your door when you go to sleep. I've been a fire investigator for over 15 years. I've witnessed many fires, home residential fires, and I've seen firsthand, as you can see in this picture here, and that's an actual fire where you had one door that was open during the fire and one door that was closed. So the door that was closed, you can see on the left, resulted in very little or minimal fire damage or smoke damage throughout the room, and would give the occupant in that room an ample amount of time to get out of the house. Whereas you see in the next photo, that smoke that's traveling throughout the house is combustible as well, and will eventually ignite. And so that is how that fire will travel from one end of the room to the other. And you can see that amount of damage that resulted in that. And that's simply just from keeping your door closed at night. So, and then the next slide, to help emphasize the smoke alarm program, if you own a home, condo or townhome, or mobile home in Anaheim, you can call our number here, 714-765-4036. And we do have a free smoke alarm program where we will go out and leave you a few smoke alarms to install. In the past, we installed them ourselves, but during the COVID and crisis and all that, we opted to just go ahead and drop that off. Hopefully that'll get changed here really soon, and we might start doing that again. But in the meantime, we are still providing the smoke alarms if you need them, especially for those areas in the hallways and in the common bedrooms. And last, also, we want you to be prepared if a fire breaks out in your home. Most importantly, we want you to emphasize to have a home escape plan, know 2 ways out, identify a meeting place, and obviously practice. So in the next slide, a home escape plan can be done very easily. You could draw up a map of your home showing all the doors and the windows, but most importantly, I want you to discuss that with your family and those who live in your house and let them know what the plan is. And so it's very easy. It doesn't take much time to do. And I think it's an important way of letting the occupants or your family members know how to get out and where you're going to meet when you get out. It's always good in the next slide, to have more than 2 ways out of every room in your home in case of one exit is blocked or becomes too dangerous to use. Some we might just have one door, or you're just in a room with a window, or you're on the 2nd story. Home Depot or Lowe's, some of the home improvement stores, they do sell escape ladders. They are approved and they are acceptable. That might be an option. I know that might not be an option for everybody, but they are there. They're available if that's something you want to consider. They're there to purchase out there at those home improvement stores. And next, a meeting place. So having a meeting place outside is also very important, obviously, so that you can keep account of your family and know who's missing or who's with you. And also, it's important when the firefighters first arrive on scene, our first priority, even though it may seem that we want to get that fire out, one of our first priorities is life safety. So we want to know right when we get there if all the family members are out. If some of the family members are missing, then our firefighters make that a big priority to try to identify where that person is, who last saw them, and if they are still in the house. So if they are still in the house, then we are going to go into much more of a rescue mode. And that is going to be our #1 priority. So life safety is always our priority before the structure itself. And so it's imperative that once you make this plan and you get outside the house, that you have a good meeting place and that everybody's accounted for. And then the next slide, obviously, is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. I can't emphasize that enough. So the more that you can practice, the better for everyone. Teach your children, teach everyone in the house, and just go over the plan as often as possible. So with that, that concludes the fire prevention or home safety portion of it. The next I want to talk about is our wildfire risk assessment. So our wildfire risk assessment is a program that we've kind of re-emphasized and revamped here to deal with the wildfire risk, obviously, in the city, which is a large risk that we have, and especially up in the Anaheim Hills in our District 6 area. So as we go to the next slide, this year, obviously, we have gotten very little rain, and it looks like we're going back into another drought. So I want to compare the stats from last year. This time of year, at the same time, about this time of year, last year, 2020, was one of our more destructive fire seasons that California has ever seen. And so in 2020, about the same time, we had about 1,065 fires, totaling 1,700 acres. So at this time in 2021, we can see that we've had 1,788 fires with 13,604 acres. So, and we're in the middle of a drought. And so it's not looking very good statewide as far as what this year has potential for in acreage burned and the amount of fires that we're going to see, because the fuels out there are just ripe for burning, and they haven't had any recovery, and there's still lots of areas still yet to burn. As we go to the next slide, what we deal with, especially in the District 6 area, is what we call the wildland urban interface. So the wildland urban interface is that zone or transition between unoccupied land and human development. So communities surrounded by wildland are at varying degrees of risk. And that's what our program here is to aim to kind of emphasize the risk of all those homes that abut the wildland areas of our city. If we go to the next slide. So what would be required of you? So right now we have sent out notices to a varied amount of residents who are much higher risks of wildfire, and we've sent them out a notice to kind of clear out their brush and give them some advice on what they can do to harden their home. What would be required, even if you got the letter or not, are these items here. So you would remove dry or dead brush or vegetation and shrubs from your structure or the property, clean the roofs, trees shall be trimmed. All of this is within your property line, either 100 feet or so from the structure or to your property line. But I do want to emphasize that most of the homes, and it's been my experience, especially in the wildland fire arena, where I have a lot more of a specialty in, is we're losing a lot of these homes, not from these big flames or from these big fires, or we're seeing these homes just ignite from home to home from these big flames. What's really burning down the homes is what's 5, 10, or 15 feet away from the house. So there's a reason why you see some homes that are burned to the ground and some right next door that are not. These are not flukes. These are not by chance or by luck. There's a reason why some homes burn, and there's a reason why some survived. And if you notice, if you look at some of these fires I've seen over past, a lot of the vegetation, the trees around the house, did not burn in the fire. The only thing that burned was the house itself. And so if you take the time to look over these items, do these parts, your house can survive a lot of these vegetation fires. I'm very confident of that. There's evidence of that. The data backs it up. If you go to your next slide, these are also recommendations that we would advise many of the homeowners to do, like replace or repair any loose missing shingles or roof tiles to prevent ember penetration, install fire-resistant roofs, enclose the undersides of eaves or balconies. Some of these things are obviously going to be expensive, might be expensive ventures, but we want the residents to be at least be informed about these things. Like I said, these are the things that are really burning down the homes. As the embers land or ignite around the house, they are igniting other items or vegetation right close up to the house. Whether you have, and if you have wood siding or other vulnerable parts of wood around the house, or windows that are not double paned or anything like that, those are areas where that small little fire 30, 45 minutes later will become a big fire, or will get in and penetrate into the house. And so that's what we're finding. So we skipped another 2 slides here. We go to, and to help alleviate that, as we sent out those notices, what we've also decided to do is you can actually schedule a one-on-one consultation with an Anaheim fire inspector, and that actually would be me. So I can go to your home. You can contact me by that number there, 765-4040, or email me at wildlandinspector@anaheim.net. And I will schedule a wildfire risk assessment. So it's not an inspection. I'm not there to enforce anything. What I am there to do is to kind of give you advice on what you need to do to clear some of that vegetation that is required of you, but also to help give you and guide you on some of the, point out some of the vulnerabilities of your house. I know that some of those things may not be easy or will not be easy to fix, but at least you have the knowledge and you'll know exactly what it is that becomes a priority to your home. It's been very beneficial to a lot of the residents. I've been doing them the last couple of weeks now. So, and they've been very well received. I've done these for several years in other jurisdictions where I've worked in the past. And I think if you are out there in the hills and you want that risk assessment, please take advantage of it. It's no cost to you. And the more homes, the more that we inform the residents one-on-one, I think it would be very, very beneficial. Like I said, if I can get somebody just to move a couple of items away from their house, that will save that house. I guarantee it. And I feel very confident that we can do that. So with that said, if there's any other questions from fire and rescue, you could obviously get a hold of us on our website at www.anaheim.net, and at our phone number, our general line at 714-765-4040. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian, for that important information. Next, we have Principal Project Planner JJ Jimenez, who will provide us with capital improvement updates for this area. JJ, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for this opportunity to provide updates on some of our capital projects in the Community Services Department. And so to do so, if I may, I'm going to share my screen and share a website with you where you will be able to find updates on the projects that I'll present to you, but then other projects, and anything else that we're doing in the Community Services Department capital section. So let me go ahead and do that. And so Jason, if you can just nod, if you can see my screen, please. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Again, my name is JJ Jimenez, and I'm with the Community Services Department capital section. And so here on this website, you can learn a little bit more about what our capital section does in different projects. And so the web address is anaheim.net/park projects. Again, anaheim.net/park projects. Here, again, you can find a little bit about what our section does, as well as contact information here on the right in case you have any questions about any of these projects or need to just obtain more updated information. And so the way that this webpage is organized is by 3 tabs here that you'll see. So one that is currently highlighted is projects that we're doing that are currently under design. And so those are things that we're just working on plans, or they're very conceptual. We have ideas, or we're meeting with the community to design and put together. And then as projects progress and go from one phase, from the design phase, they generally enter the construction phase. And so they'll go to this tab here. And then finally, as they are finalized out and completed and ready to be used and enjoyed by the public, then we'll display them over here on the recently completed. So utilizing these tabs, I'm going to just scroll down and give you a brief update, and more so just so that you know how to navigate through this webpage on a project that is located in District 6, and that is our infamous and famous, very popular Oak Canyon Nature Center. And so at that location, we have received a state grant of $500,000 to do some minor renovations that will be, however, super effective to this site, and will allow our users and residents to enjoy it even more. So the actual improvements include, as noted here, some interpretive panels so you can learn more about the site and what you might be seeing and things to look out for. We'll also be installing some interactive outdoor labs, especially for the kiddos, and we do have quite a few programs out there that will be enhanced by both the interpretive panels and also by this outdoor labs. And lastly, we are going to be making some major renovations to the very popular amphitheater in the seating area there as well. And so here again, you can find more information on this project. And as we develop the plans for it, and we're going to be sharing some of this content with you. So the interpretive panels, the plans, and more of a detailed look at what it is that we're going to be doing to that site. So again, I invite you to check back here in a couple of weeks, and you'll see more updates. As an update on schedule on this project, we are currently under design, and so super preliminary. Again, super excited that we do have this funding, and we'll be able to make great improvements here. And so please visit that section to learn a little bit more. I'm going to scroll back up to the under construction tab. Again, here, these are projects that either us or some of our partners are carrying out and are currently ongoing for construction. And so as I scroll down, I'll just stop here at this project called Aloe Promenade. And this is in District 5 in the Platinum Triangle area. So this is, we have partnered with a developer, Lennar, that is has a residential development just south of Katella, and then west of State College. And there, we're partnering with them, and they are providing two park projects, two public parks. And one of them is the one that is displayed here. It's a very linear park, just over half an acre, but it's super exciting, and it offers lots of different activities for our community. And so here you'll find things like bocce ball. You'll have a lot of picnicking, lots of art, lots of open areas to just take a respite, from the built environment. And then I want to also let you know that this project, as noted on this tab, is currently under construction. It is nestled between two residential buildings that are being developed by Lennar. And so it's being phased and constructed as time permits and as those residential buildings progress as well. And I'm going to just scroll back up and then click on the recently completed tab so I can show you what that looks like. And here, again, you'll find information on projects that we just completed or recently completed and are now open and being able to be enjoyed by the public. And so as I scroll down, I will touch and give you an update on a project on, again, District 5. And this is the recently opened, and this was actually opened last December 7th to the public, and it's Aloe Greens. And it's actually directly across or on the north side of Aloe Promenade that I just covered. And this is the second park that I mentioned that is that was actually done and completed by Lennar. And so here at this park, you'll find lots of different activities for the entire family. It's 1.2 acres. And as shown here in the imagery, they have different play elements for, all small and big kids. There in the background, you can see, picnicking facilities. Here you'll see some super fun, colorful sitting areas for parents and kids to take a break from playing in the play equipment. On the west side of the park, you'll find an elevated, super artful plaza that also offers additional picnicking, but at night, it really becomes alive as shown in this imagery, and it has a really awesome water feature, again, showing on the imagery here. There is our standard park name, but here's how it looks at night, super lit up. So I invite you to visit that. That park is located, again, in the area south of Catella, west of State College. The actual address is 1400 East Park Ave. You may or may not find that on Google yet, because it is a new facility. Sometimes Google takes a little bit to update. But again, if you have any challenges finding this facility, I invite you to contact us, and I will be happy to provide you directions for that. The other thing that you'll find at this park is a big open turf area, and it's super popular for residents with dogs. They just kind of let them run around. It's also super popular for kicking around a ball, and it could also double as a amphitheater, as it does face some amphitheater type seating. So Jason, with that, I am going to pass it back to you. And I want to once again thank you for the opportunity to provide this brief update. And I do invite everyone to visit our park capital page. And again, that's anaheim.net/park projects. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, JJ. I'd like to take an opportunity to invite library staff to provide us with the latest update on the services available to the public. Here to provide us that information is Principal Librarian Emily Otis. Emily, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Jason. So I have just some brief announcements. I'll start with District 5. I am very pleased to announce that the Sunkist Library is open to the public again, so you can come in to browse books and use the computers, and we have full library services available. For now, we have temporarily reduced hours, so we're just open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 1 to 7 p.m. And Bookmobile is actually back up and running in District 5 and visiting Anna Drive regularly on Wednesday afternoons. For District 6, the East Anaheim branch does remain closed at this time, but the Canyon branch is open Monday through Friday from 11 to 7, Monday through Thursday from 11 to 7, Fridays from 11 to 6. And our summer reading program recently kicked off, so readers of all ages from 0 to 100 and whatever, you can earn prizes for books you read all summer. So come on in, have some fun. We're waiting for you. Happy to see you.
Thank you, Emily, for that update on library services. So we've now arrived to the Q&A portion of our meeting, which is a great opportunity for our participants to ask questions not answered by the material presented. I'm going to go ahead and take a moment and look at the Q&A board. I've seen that our panelists have been on fire answering those questions throughout the presentation. So thank you very much, panelists, for providing our public with those much needed answers. Currently, we do have Sandra Lozo typing an answer with regards to the question about Juarez Park and homeless camping in the park and what could be done to provide, to redirect the CCRT to provide that kind of assistance to the homeless in the park, as well as to areas behind the Carl's Jr. But that has been answered by Sandra, so please take a moment to review that when you have a chance. Moving forward, and just a reminder that questions that weren't answered during our meeting will be answered and viewable on our Neighborhood Services website. Our website is anaheim.net/neighborhoods, along with the contact information of tonight's presenters. Before I conclude the meeting, I would like to take a moment to provide you with some additional announcements. The Anaheim Community Services Department is working on a public art master plan that will create a roadmap for how we begin to activate our many communities to implement and enjoy public art while also celebrating Anaheim's spirit and artistic expressions. More information about the Public Art Plan initiative can be found at www.anaheimpublicart.org. Right now, I'm sure you're just burning with that age-old question, so how do I get involved? Well, anyone who lives, works, or invests in the city of Anaheim is encouraged to be involved in shaping the Public Art Master Plan. Here's how you do it. Tell us about your neighborhood by taking the Community Character Survey. This is very important to our process, so please take a moment to fill it out today. Get creative by submitting an idea or image of what makes Anaheim interesting, unique, or a great place to call home. Take the project survey so that you can share your ideas and vision for public art in Anaheim. You'll also notice special treasure hunts in which you can participate for each district listed on the website. Get outside and explore your neighborhood as we celebrate Anaheim's treasures with a month-long treasure hunt sponsored by the Community Services Public Art Master Plan effort. Locate each treasure within your district and take a selfie with them. Submit one selfie with your favorite treasure and take the Public Art Master Plan survey for a chance to win one of 6 treasure chests filled with swag from local businesses. More information and a list of the surveys about the Public Art Plan initiative can be found at www.anaheimpublicart.org. Are you ready for the July 4th celebration and the saluting of our active military and veterans? Join your neighbors at this year's event being held on Sunday, July 4th. The all-day event kicks off at 7 a.m. with a firecracker 5K, 10K run and walk in front of the Canyon High School track. It then continues with a Yankee Doodle Dog show at 9 a.m. in the school's softball field, followed by the Patriotic Parade along Santa Ana Canyon at 1:00 p.m. All leading up to food, nonprofit vendors, and entertainment at Peralta Park. Don't forget about the spectacular fireworks show at 9:00 p.m. to end the day. Make sure to stop by the Anaheim Hills Rotary Club booth to see how you can sponsor a flag for the Field of Honor event happening September 10th through the 12th, recognizing those who perished on this 20th anniversary of the September 11th attack. For more information on the 4th of July event, please visit at www.anaheimhillscommunitycouncil.org. The city manager's office will soon be working with the community to obtain input on what's important to Anaheim residents and stakeholders, and what should be included in the city's mission and value statement. Please keep an eye out for more information coming soon. Just a reminder that our neighborhood services website also has helpful information on how to initiate streetlight repair, request a streetlight installation, and how to organize a neighborhood cleanup. So give us a call at 714-765-4456 so that we may help you locate the appropriate city service or develop ways we can improve your neighborhood. I want to go ahead and just take this moment to thank our attendees and our panelists for your participation in tonight's meeting. I'm about to conclude the meeting at this time, so I wish you all a great evening and a wonderful goodbye.